want to talk tonight, the first top topic, about roles and responsibilities. Sanctification. Have any of you ever been in a sanctification? I call them sanctification sessions in marriage. You used to call them arguments. I just call them sanctification.
So we told y'all we were going to be vulnerable, right? Well, this is just a little short story to show you how far we've come and how much sanctification has taken place. All I know is we've gotten this argument, and then I'll hear vroom, and it's like I can't see my hand in front of me, and I see his taillights to his little Toyota pulling out. I'm like, no, he did not. At that time, I was making chicken and dumplings, which were his favorite, so he left me and the dog there, and so I just put the pot of chicken and dumplings on the ground. I couldn't see, but I could hear the dog licking up the chicken and dumplings. Eventually, he comes back. He's eating them chicken and dumplings saying, baby, you are the best. And I'm just sitting over there smiling. Are they good? Are you enjoying them?
So there is great potential to experience the most beautiful, intimate, and fulfilling relationship on earth. You don't want to just stay married to stay married. That's miserable. If you're married, you might as well make it the best. Second role and responsibility of the man is to lay down his life sacrificially. We should be the first to apologize. It comes with the territory, right? Well, I'm the head of the house. Great, you get to die first.
The enemy has a plan. He has a strategy to destroy my marriage. What's my strategy?
All right, what's up, everybody? Good to see you all tonight. Glad to see that some of you did come back tonight. We didn't run too many of you off, so don't hold anything that we say against Pastor Christopher or the assembly. The views that we share tonight are our own, so glad everyone can come. How many of you had a good Valentine's Monday? Did everybody have a good Valentine's night? Man, my wife was so gracious and made me a big pot of chicken and dumplings.
No, I did not. But speaking of that, I feel like there's a part of that story that's missing. I have had so many comments about this chicken and dumplings.
That was a dirty trick.
I get it, but do you know what started it? Does anybody remember the breaker box part? Okay, that came first. I now know how to work the breaker box, but that was first outside. You knocked me out of the house. Nobody remembers that. Everybody's just talking about chicken and dumplings.
Turn the lights off.
No, not just turn them off. You'd remember that sound I made?
I do remember that sound.
Yeah.
But the chicken and dumplings was a low blow, though, I think. I think that's why the people turned on you so quickly.
I'm a sweet person. I was making those chicken and dumplings for you, honey, and it just all went south after that.
20 Valentine's nights later, it's gotten a lot better. No lights were turned off this year.
No chicken and dumplings
No
were
chicken
made.
and dumplings. Everything was great. But we're going to continue with our current series, our current Wednesday night series, Hot Topics, Marriage and Family Editions. We kicked this off a couple of Wednesday nights ago. I shared on the foundation of family, and I hope you're keeping track with these each and every week. And then last week, we talked about roles and responsibilities in the marriage. Did anybody get to put that into practice? Any sanctification sessions? Look, Pastor Christopher, look, he's putting himself out there. He's putting himself out there. No sanctification, couple other honest people, some sanctification sessions. Is that what you call them? You see there, change your perspective, huh? Well, tonight, we're not backing off any, we're not shying away any. Tonight, we're talking about sex and sexuality. And I know a lot of you just cringed because, wow, I cannot believe he said sex and sexuality in the church. Well, see, that's the problem. Because we've allowed it to become taboo in the church when the King that I serve created sex and sexuality. And if we continue to shy away from it in the home, if we continue to shy away from it in the church, then we're going to continue to get the results that we've been getting. We're going to continue to get dysfunctional views on sex and sexuality. And if you have a problem with me saying that in the church tonight, I respectfully say you are part of the problem, because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about in the church. If there are authors that wrote about sex and sexuality in the Bible, and we know they did because we're going to read about it tonight, know that they were 100% inspired by the Holy Spirit of God to do so. And if sex and sexuality matters to God, then my goodness, it should matter to us. So that's a topic that we're going to hit on tonight. It's been almost hard to believe, as we shared last week, it's hard to believe it's almost been 20 years since our wedding day. And I thought about this. The wedding day is the day that most every young girl or young woman looks forward to. The wedding day. Now, on my wedding day, I was out putting up the last of the deer stands because we got married on September the 28th, and when we got back from our honeymoon, postseason started. So I had my priorities in order. I was making sure I got the last box stand up, and so that's what my day looked like. For her, she spent all day getting ready. Why? Because the wedding day to a woman is something that she dreams about all of her life. Now, the wedding night is something that the man dreams about. Can we be honest tonight?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a man, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure that y'all do. Speaking of...
Did I catch you asleep? This is your cue. It's your turn. It's here in the notes.
Wedding night. Okay, yeah. So, but I thought you were going to start the wedding night story, like how we had been so busy at our reception, and so somebody made us a really good little basket, that has all our food in it, so we could go home. And anyway, because we didn't get to eat because we were talking, and I don't remember anyway. We get home, and our new home, this is our first night in our little farmhouse.
And guys, I set her up. We worked on it for 6 months, 900 square.
You asked me to say something.
I'm giving a little backstory
here. This was
here.
not a Joanne. No, I said last week this was not a Joanna Gaines farmhouse, and there's more stories where that came from. It was not. But anyway, so we're like on the floor, living room floor. Hang with me here. I'm not getting.
We're not going to say anything vulgar and inappropriate.
Anyway, and I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, there were some grapes or something like that, and you were just kind of being all flirtatious or whatever. And then all of a sudden, I see something run past the living room, and I was like, "What was that?" And you go, you literally, I think, turned my head, and you're like, "Nothing. It was nothing." And I was like, "No, I really think I saw something." And you're like, "I don't think you did." And I was like, okay. And so I sit back, and we're eating a little bit more. The next thing you know, I'm like, I see two. And I'm like, no. And I run and jump in the bed. I said, no, I know for sure I saw that. I'm not sure if they're mice or rats or something, but there is something with a tail that is coming. Yeah,
and what I didn't tell her is earlier that day, I realized that we had some visitors, some intruders. And the house didn't think it was a big deal, right? Caulked up the hole. Everything's good.
One hole, but there was
wedding night's going to go on.
Holes.
It's going to go on as planned in my mind.
Well, anyway, so needless to say, it was quite the adventure, and we got started that way. But on a serious note, we are going to laugh and have. I mean, there's plenty of stories, obviously, to tell and things, but. In all honesty, we also know that this topic can be a very heavy topic, a very hurtful topic. It could be very hard to talk about, not just because of religious views, but because of abuse or baggage that you may have brought in. I know for me, not only am I remembering the mice, but I also remember the baggage that we both brought in and did not realize we were bringing it in until our wedding night.
Yeah, so you got mice and baggage, double whammy.
It wasn't the best, I'll just say that. But
yeah, I mean, she jumped up on the bed because there's mice running around. We're talking a wedding night here, right? And we end up a couple minutes down the road at her daddy's trying to get mouse traps and stuff before we're ever.
Forgot about that.
I mean, it was, you forgot about, I didn't forget about that. I declared war on those mice that night.
I don't think I left the bed. Anyway, I learned to not be afraid of them, but that's not the point. The point is that I want it to also be gracious and understand that this is it can be a very serious topic, because honestly, it took us years to get over some of the things that all of a sudden we realized on our wedding night. We're like, wow, wait, you brought that and you brought that, and we had to deal with it. Yeah. I mean, we didn't deal with it right then, but it again surfaced, and we had to deal with it, which is from the past.
And tonight, again, to give everybody hope, we're night and day at a different place than we were 20 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Our sex life 20 years later is wonderful and great. Again, not that we don't go through bumpy roads and bumpy seasons, but God has brought us so far from the last 20 years. And wherever you are tonight, I just want to encourage you, stick with God, stay with God, and He'll bring you from point A to point B, no matter how low you are in your marriage, no matter if there's zero attraction at all between you and your spouse, no matter what type of baggage that you've brought in, no matter what type of abuse, because some of you tonight have been molested. Some of you have been raped. Some of you have been addicted to porn, and so sex and sexuality automatically triggers stuff in you, and we get that. And we understand that, but we also know and understand that there's freedom in Christ. There's freedom in the power of Christ, and we're a testimony to that.
I wanted to say, especially if there's anybody that's not married yet, but you're planning to get married, or you could start if you haven't already done this, but I know looking back, if I had to do it over again, there were things that I walked through or that happened to me, or things I thought that was under the blood, like I've forgiven that person and it's okay and I'm good and good to go. And then, like you said, you don't realize something like a trigger or things that happen, and all of a sudden you realize you have this baggage, and he's like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for all this. And I'm like, I didn't know that this was gonna come, it really, really can be a very touchy part of some people's story.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. But there is victory, which is one of the reasons why we don't share just all of our victories. That's why tonight's message is rated R, right?
Huh? I just said it was rated G.
No, it's rated R. We ain't kids' church.
Okay.
Rated R, raw and real.
It's the Bible.
It is, raw and real. Some people say, we appreciate y'all being so raw and real and transparent, and all I say is, it's better than the alternative, right? Yeah. Which is fake. So, again, we're gonna bring...
Who hates just fake?
Fake is...
Can anybody else, can I get a show of hands? Yeah. Thank you. Y'all are my people. Thank you.
And so we have victory, yes, but throughout our 20 years of marriage, there's also been a lot of struggle, a lot of process, a lot of growth. So it'd be misleading if we just got up here and shared all of our victories with you without sharing all of our defeats or struggles. And there's been a lot of struggles, but there's victory in Jesus' name, okay? So tonight, sex and sexuality. How many of you are ready to learn about what the Word has to say about sex and sexuality? We all good? Take your Bibles, if you would, turn with me again to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And again, if you're viewing online, thank you so much for joining us in the sanctuary here at the Assembly. So glad that you guys were able to tune in tonight. Genesis chapter 1, we're going to begin with verse 26. Tonight I'll be reading out of the English Standard Version. Verse 26 says this, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." Verse 27. "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him." Listen again. "Male and female, he created them." If he wanted us to be the same, he would have just created one gender. Why did he create two genders? Because we're different. Because we complement one another. If that wasn't the case, then he'd have created everybody male or everybody female. There's a reason and a purpose God created male and female. Verse 28, "And God blessed them," the male and female. He blessed the human beings and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, over one chapter. Genesis chapter 2, verse 4. Says, "These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. When no bush of the field was yet in the land, and no small plant of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the land, and there was no man to work the ground. And the mist was going up from the land and was watering the whole face of the ground. Then the Lord God formed the man of the dust from the ground," forming his physical being, And he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And then listen to what happened. Then the man became a living creature, or a living soul, or a living being. Father, we thank you for the power of your word tonight, Lord. Open the doors of our heart, Lord. Speak to us. God, I pray that you would encourage us, challenge us, help us grow. I pray for freedom in the name of Jesus for each and every person that's here tonight and those that are watching online. We ask these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Everyone said, amen. Amen. All right, you taking notes, you're ready to take some notes and move along. Sex and sexuality. Listen, the God of the Bible, we just read it, the God of the Bible is the creator of human sexuality. You understand that? The world did not create sexuality. The culture did not create sexuality. Some magazine or the media did not create sex and sexuality. The God of this, the God of the Bible, the God you serve, the God I serve, the God that sent his son in flesh to live a perfect life and to lay down his life to die for our sins and was raised victoriously from the dead, is the same God that created human sexuality. Listen, human beings are not only physical and spiritual beings, but sexual beings as well. You are a sexual being. You get that? Listen, I said this last week. Before he even breathed spirit into the body, into the vessel, and before the man even became a living soul, he was first created a physical being. What do you think God did when he created Adam? He took dust from the earth and he formed the man. You understand? He formed the man. Yes. We're adults here. He formed the man. He gave him arms. He gave him man parts. You got me. He created a penis.
We got you.
Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. He created the man. I'm not being ugly. I'm not being vulgar. I'm being real. No, he created the man. When he took the dust of the earth, he formed man, right? And he breathed spirit into that man, and then the man became a living soul. Look, we cannot separate our sexuality from who we are. You understand? We are sexual beings, and as sexual beings, God created them what? Male and female. As sexual beings, there are both outward and inward differences between a man and woman's sexuality. He created us in the image of God. He created us with equal value. He created us with equal worth. He created us with equal honor. He created us with equal dignity, but he did not create us the same. And this world and this culture continues to try to push that down our throat. Women quit trying to be men and outdo men, and men quit trying to be and outdo women. If you're a man, be a man. If you're a woman, be a woman. And embrace it and be proud of it and know your Creator created and designed you, and I like that. Embrace your womanhood, woman. Celebrate it. Embrace your manhood, man, and celebrate that. Do we really have to go over the outward obvious here? I know there's an Aerosmith song, dude looks like a lady, and in this day and age, I understand. But there are obvious outward differences between a man and a woman. All right? Don't need to go there. We got that. Now, we teach our kids that. Oh my God, I can't. No. We teach our kids that when they were young. Not when they're teenagers, when they're young. When they're young enough to know, hey, that's a boy part. It's called a penis. Well, I can't believe you teach it. Why not? He got an arm. He's got a leg. If we're not going to teach them, who else is? I don't want them learning from anybody else. I want them learning from me and from her. God gave them to us. Sexuality is a normal part of life and living, and we've created it to be taboo. We have. Oh my God. Ooh, can't believe you talk. No. God made us like that. And when we teach them from when they're very young, they don't grow up feeling weird about it because it's a part of who we are. Amen? Amen. There's inward differences. Our sexual organs inwardly are different. All right? Our reproductive organs are different. Our hormones, our hormonal structure are different. Oh, yeah, like, yeah.
Very much.
The chemicals in our body are different. There's emotional differences. Our sexual wiring is different. Listen to this. A healthy man can produce, listen to this now. This is so you will understand how God created man and how God created woman. And men, you don't think you're perverts, and women, you don't think you married a pervert. You realize, hey, this is the way God wired us sexually. Listen, a healthy man produces hundreds of millions of sperm a day. God did that. You can thank God. God did that.
I so wish we had that little illustration. That was the cutest little
It was
thing.
it was in my computer.
Man. Okay, anyway.
Compared
We're
to...
going to tell them what the illustration was now that I said that. But it had like
the
a
factory, and then it was
like,
taking it to the...
It was all like, I mean, it was 90 miles an hour. And then us lady, it was a little
One
lady
egg a month.
We had a little wheelbarrow with a flour, and we came out one time a month. And we just, I was like, wow, that is way different.
Look, there's semen build up in a man every 42 and 78 hours. Women, sexual build up every 1 to 2 times a month. Do you understand now how the enemy could use our ignorance and turn us against each other? But this is how our Creator God made us. That's how He wired us, and that's how He wired women. So we're going to talk about 6 sex secrets tonight. We may not go G, but we're not going to get out of line here, all right? Y'all ready for some of these? Number 1, sex and sexuality was created by God. We just talked about this. I know that's elementary, but sometimes I think we need to remind ourselves in the church that God is the one that created it, and I'm sick and tired of the world taking something God created and perverting it. Sex and sexuality is divine in origin. You want to say something?
No,
Oh, you took a deep breath and leaned back.
You're doing great.
No, okay. Hey, look.
No, I mean, I do think that, for me, and I mean, I even was raised up in church, it was just like, it's so hard to think when you're talking about, when I was looking over your notes and our notes, that it was like, to glorify God and things like that. And I'm like, we've just been so programmed. Like, yeah. I mean, like, even as a church, it's just like it's bad, or not good, or quiet, or whatever. And it's having to just totally rethink everything that I've learned.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of time, though.
Absolutely. So, yeah, sex and sexuality was created by God. It's divine in origin. Number 2, sex and sexuality is a gift from God. It was not only created by God, it's not only divine in origin, but it's a gift from God. We just read the first command from God to man was what? You remember? Sister Bert, what'd you say? Be fruitful and multiply. How do you do that? But how do you do that? Sister Bert.
Sister Bert,
you are my hero.
You need this chair right here. That's right.
She is awesome. Can we give her? She's just awesome.
Yes.
She is awesome. We need a third chair.
As long as attitude and tone and vocabulary is correct,
Bingo.
then it's acceptable with God because He taught it and He made us as we are, as you said.
Can we get her a mic, everybody? Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear the
Amen,
words of the woman of God? Look, sex and sexuality is a gift from God. Number 1, to procreate. God had to create a way for that to happen. When He said, be fruitful and multiply, He had to create a way for that to happen. And it's interesting, He created man and woman, and again, but the parts fit, right? He's smart. God's wise, right? He created sex and sexuality, number 1, for procreation, but also, look, to enjoy. It's mutual. He didn't create it for man. He created it for man and woman. A gift to them for mutual gratification and joy and enjoyment and fulfillment and celebration. It's about celebration and sharing love between a man and a woman. Number 3, sex is powerful. It's powerful.
Yes. I want to read Hebrews 13:4. It says, give honor to marriage and remain faithful to one another in marriage. God will surely judge people who are immoral and those who commit adultery. In the verse 5, it says, don't love money, be satisfied with what you have. And I found that very interesting that that's right after when it's talking about marriage, don't love money, be satisfied with what you have. And it brought me back to a conversation I had with a woman years ago that she was speaking into my life, and I'm very grateful for it, but she was like, so many times we think there's somebody else out there, it's something out there better, I'm missing out. So I might as well just throw in the towel on this, and we believe that lie of not being content. I'm not saying stay content, be discontent and just stay that way, like you need to work on it, but like really and truly going, you know what, I can do better than this, I'm gonna go. And so I'm just being vulnerable here. So we had a little season in our life where I just felt like I was just a maid. Like all I did was like we go and have lunch just with these people, and I'm at home with kids getting pooped on and looking like whatever, and he'd come home and I was cooking, I'm cleaning, and I could never find anything. I was not organized, and he had a wonderful, wonderful assistant at the time, and she was very organized, and he's learned since then, but he would be like, don't worry about it, I'll get so-and-so to do it. And I'd be like,
I'm glad I've grown in wisdom.
yeah, I am too.
And in stature.
And so, but I began to just be like, oh my goodness, I'm like, worth nothing around here. And so, and this is how the enemy works. It took one person, I don't even remember who the person was, but I didn't forget what he said. He was like, man, Beck doesn't understand just how good he has it. And I'm like, he sure does not. And I'm telling you, I dwelled on that, and I dwelled on that way too long. And we started not communicating well. Sex was getting very not happening.
Still trying to find out who that dude was.
Well, I don't even remember, so I couldn't tell you. But I'm just saying, what my point is that I'm saying that sex is powerful. Anyway, her point, she was telling me, she's like, I'm telling you, sometimes you may come to a road where you think, I can do better than that. And she's like, I am a product that believed that lie. And she went through a divorce, and I was in the middle of the season of like, I just kept believing that, like it was really rocking our marriage. It really was. But I have been known, God has given me spiritual dreams ever since I was a kid, and I was dead set. I was not changing. Like he's gonna learn that he's got it good. I was not having a good attitude. And I know it may have been more than 3 nights in a row, but I know 3 nights in a row I had this dream of a castle, but it was, I never saw the guy's face, but he was just talking to me like, oh, he's so appreciative of me, and he was just all these kind words, and I kept following up this staircase, and all along it was like this gut feeling like, I really shouldn't be going up this castle, and this guy's actually appreciating me. Anyway, I get to the top, and he slams the door, and I'm locked in. And I have this little window, and I can see out, and I can see Beck and my kids, and they're hollering, and they're, Mama, where are you? And Beck's longing for me, and I'm like, I'm beating, and I can't get out, and I was trapped. And I knew that moment, that the first time I had it, but by the third time, I'm like, I got you, Lord, I got you. That's a trap. Be careful that this is a powerful thing. You don't play with, like you're playing with fire if you're saying, well, I'm not giving you any. You don't deserve any tonight, whatever. That attitude, just the disrespect about it, if you get to thinking like dwelling on whatever it is, like I was dwelling on, he should have been appreciating me a whole lot more. Obviously, I was really stuck on that, but I was headed down into a trap of the enemy. And going back to the woman that I was talking about earlier, she said to me, Jody, if I could only go back she said, because one day I look up and I realized that I bought the lie and I was trapped. And she said, I'd give anything if I could just go back and fix what I had, work on what I had, and just sit on the porch, on the back porch and drink coffee and watch my grandkids play. But she's like, I believed the lie, that there was something else better out there. And so I'm just encouraging y'all that it is a powerful thing. Don't play with fire whenever you're in those seasons.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's powerful. It's like glue. Sex is like glue, but it can provide stability. In a good sense, it can provide stability to a relationship. Because it's like glue. It connects not only the sexual parts, but it connects the emotions, it connects the senses, it connects even our spirit. That's why a lot of time you can see maybe a young woman get entangled with someone that's no good because they've already interacted sexually, and there's this powerful glue, this powerful bond that's been formed, and it's hard to break. And so that's what sex is. It can be powerful. Number 4, sex and sexuality, listen to this, is glorifying and pleasing to God. Listen, when God creates something to do what it's created to do, it brings him glory, and he's pleased with it. When the wind blows, and the wind's supposed to blow, it brings glory to God. Whatever God creates and it functions and does what God created it to function and do, it's ultimately bringing glory to God. And as hard as it is for us to wrap our minds around that, again, because we've been so influenced by the world and the culture's mindset and worldview that we don't even realize it, when a man and a woman in the covenant of marriage is enjoying sexual intimacy with one another, listen, it is glorifying the Lord Jesus Christ. And not just that, he's pleased with it. Wrap your mind around that. But it's the truth. Listen, number 5, sex and sexuality, the way God created and intended it to be, is good. We grow up, kids grow up and they hear sex is bad, 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 sex is bad. You get married, sex is good, and they're like confused. Is it good or is it bad? Pastor Jeremy's and Pastor Cody, they're going through a series somewhat similar, age appropriate in their ministry areas like we are, and they received some questions, and one of the questions in junior high was this: why is sex bad? You see, they've already bought the lie. It's not bad. Do you understand that? Everything God created is good. Now the enemy takes what's good and he perverts it, and when it's used, this gift, outside of the boundaries and guidelines and jurisdictions of which it was created,
And I wanted to say that, outside of the guidelines and boundaries, because I've counseled with many women that were married and the abuse and stuff that was still going on. So we can't cover all of that tonight, obviously. We can share parts of our story, but I wanted to make sure that when you said that, like, God clearly puts it in his word about different guidelines and things. We're not talking about abuse, and that's a
right.
whole nother topic.
Absolutely.
So just wanted to say
that's a good point. Sex is not a dirty word. It's not bad, it's good. I want to say sex.
Sex.
Say it again.
Sex.
Awesome. It's good. It's not bad. Number 6, sex the way God created and intended it to be is safe. Listen, more than half of people in their lifetime will contract an STD. It's to be within the safe boundaries of marriage. Sex, the way God created it and intended it to be, is not bad. It's good and it's safe.
It's safe. So So there's a little story right here, and if you're online, I ask you to please either stay with it until I finish it, but don't get up in the middle of it because you'll have the wrong information. Because Beck did share this. He's shared this before from the pulpit, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, if somebody totally just went to the bathroom right now, they just missed out that whole rest of that story. But talking about the safety in marriage. So I was pregnant with Adeline, And
It's back in like 2008, late 2008.
I thought you said I was packing like 2008 pounds.
No.
I was like,
No,
buddy,
no.
I was big.
Pregnant
but
in 2000. I
Yeah.
mean, no.
She was 2009, but okay. Anyway,
Pastor Brad and Miss Shannon talking about communication next week, right?
I'm gonna be
there
here.
There we go.
So
There's some
anyway,
miscommunication.
anyway, so I'm like big, like any day now. Got to go all the time because at any moment the baby's gonna come. And so my doctor actually happened to be in Egypt. I can't just say she was out of town. She was literally in Egypt. Like she was doing some great missionary work, I'm sure, but she was in Egypt. And so I'm just trying to hang on for this baby because I want my doctor, but we're gonna get introduced to this new doctor. Beck comes with me and we walk in, and so the way she introduces herself, hey, she's a great doctor and I really like her now. But anyway, she goes, I'm just gonna shoot straight to it. She was like, You've tested for positive for gonorrhea. And I was like, what? And she was like,
and I'm like, what?
And she said, yeah, at the beginning of
I'm like Googling it. What the heck is that, you know?
Hang on. At the beginning of the pregnancy, we test you were negative, and now we test, your blood work comes back, and it says that it's positive. And I hate to be the one to have to tell you that. And I'm like, and I'm just sitting there looking, I'm like, so you're saying that I've gotten this since I've been pregnant? And she's like, yes.
You're like, we've tested. We know when we got married, we did all but we're good. We're clean and whatever.
And I'm like, since I've been pregnant. So I look over at him like, I have been one of these foolish women that like, I mean, I'm telling you, like I'm sitting like, I was not a cute pregnant person.
At this point, she's watched too many Lifetime movies and she thinks I'm living a double life and all this kind of stuff.
Anyway, he looks at me later and he's like, did I not give her enough emotional support? Like he was like, oh man. And anyway, we're giving each other the eye, and in all honesty, she goes on to tell me that my baby could be born blind, and I'm like, oh my, she was like, so I can give you a shot. And he's like, no, you're not giving her.
Well, she's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, time out.
No.
Wait
Hang
a minute.
At this point, I'm like, I don't know. I can just say, at this point, I don't know what to believe. And my head's spinning. And I'm like, I said, you're telling me, you promised me, you're telling me this has had to have happened since I've been pregnant? And she's like, yes. And Beck's like, that's like saying you can't get something unless you go out in an ocean and yet and then
I ain't been to the ocean.
And I'm like,
fair question.
She goes, look, I'm not a therapist. I'm just telling you what the results are. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I said, so I'm thinking, okay, I actually didn't want to look at him. And I just said,
didn't do anything.
I know, and I repented. I said, give me the shot. I don't want my baby to be blind because of my whatever problems we have going on here that I don't know about. And so she says, okay, I'll be right back. And
Hang on.
Beck comes in and when she walks out, Beck goes, Jody, no, you're not getting that shot. I don't even know what that shot is. Something's not right. And I'm like, that's what she said. And I don't know. I just know that I don't want the babies to happen. Whatever our problems are, we need to work that out after the baby is born, okay? And you're like, what? And so she comes in, she goes, okay, it was a Thursday or Friday, and she said, this never happens. But hang on. She said,
you're missing a vital piece here.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, you're going to retest her.
I was getting there on that. No, she comes in and says, you had said, yes, retest her. She wasn't listening to you, really.
I'm the guilty one.
I was crying.
The man's always the guilty one.
So she was listening to me, and I said, I want the shot. And so she comes back and she says, I'm so sorry. This never happened to us, but we're out of shots. And I'm like, and she said, and we're not going to get any through the weekend. And Beck goes, well, that's fine. That's good. You can retest her, and we can go through the weekend. And I'm like, so obviously, long story short, we did end up retesting, and she personally called me on Monday morning and said, Jody, there's been a mistake. Obviously, I have a negative test, and your test has been mixed up with somebody else. But I now have a positive and a negative.
You're leaving out some vital details.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I know how these places of business operate.
Oh, well, that came later.
No. The reason you're going to have to retest is because I understand HIPAA laws, but they don't abide by HIPAA laws. They're going to be back there going, can you believe he's a preacher? Rah, 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 rah.
Well, I found that out later.
I was right. So we got to clear
I was thinking about my baby.
We got to clear our name and the Lord's
I
name.
wasn't thinking about anybody's name. I just needed to, anyway. So all that, so she goes, I now have a negative and a positive. Can you come up here? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go anywhere. Obviously, we hug and we're like, I can't believe we ever doubted each other. I'm so sorry, like. And we named Adeline's middle name Faith because we were like, we got to have faith in God and faith in each other. And I mean, it ended up being super, super sweet. But later, like a few years later at kids camp, there's a doctor there with her children, and I'm introducing myself, being the nice little pastor's wife, and how are you? Let's get you plugged in. And anyway, she works at that office. And I went, oh, I had a bad experience there, but it's all good now. And so I just said one little thing, and she went, you're gonorrhea girl? And I went,
I told y'all. I told you.
I said, is that what y'all called me? And she goes, oh, girl, yeah. We were like, oh my, we have a pastor, there's a preacher in there. And she said, the doctor came out and she's like, I can't tell which one's lying. They both look like they're telling the truth. I mean, I usually can tell right off the bat. When I tell them, I can say, yeah, I know which one that is. She goes, but they both were, like, they both had me fooled. I'm like, I don't know. And I still just sitting there like, oh my goodness. I was like, could we please come up with a different name? Our point in telling that story is you don't have to worry about those things if you're married and you're in the safety of marriage.
Unless you get a test mixed up, you don't have to worry with that.
Yes, and you have a wise husband, not a hormonal woman, anyway. But yes, and that is something that we should be able to enjoy, the safety.
Amen.
And now we know it.
To this day, we're negative of gonorrhea.
Yes, we are.
Safe sex is only safe sex in the marriage union between a man and a woman. It's safe because the blessing of God is bestowed upon that union. It's honored when it is within the covenant marriage. We understand that. It's safe because a husband and a wife can be completely and totally vulnerable, unashamed, and realize true oneness with each other. You know, that's the ultimate vulnerability. The Bible says that the husband and wife in Genesis, the husband and wife were both naked and what? They were not ashamed. Why? There was no shame, but there was no sin. There was no shame because it was safe. There was no shame because it was in the safety of, in the proper boundaries of marriage. There was no shame because there was nothing to compare it to. There was no shame because it was in the marriage union. Listen to what 1 Corinthians 6, verses 15 through 17 says. Sorry, our gonorrhea story took like 10 or 15 minutes, but
You kept interrupting me.
I'm sorry. You were leaving out crucial pieces of the... Do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them members of a prostitute? Never. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For as it is written, again, going back to the beginning, to Genesis, the two will become one what? One flesh. But he who is joined to the Lord becomes one spirit with him. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, we'll talk about this a little bit, sweetie. Verses 1 through 5. Now concerning the matters about which you wrote, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman, but because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. Listen to this, very important, verse 3. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights. And likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time. Notice, by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer, but then come back together again. Why? So that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. When you use sex as a weapon against your spouse, you are playing Russian roulette with your marriage.
I said that one, sex is powerful.
It is powerful. Men, when you're neglecting your wives emotionally, you are playing Russian roulette with your marriage. Because as in the story Jody shared, if you don't meet your wife's emotional needs, I promise you there is a man out there that will.
And physical. I mean,
Absolutely.
we have physical ones too. But so, what we do, this is what we do. Y'all can do whatever works for you. But anyway,
Is the filter on that tonight?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm trying.
You're talking about going
I'm
G.
trying really hard.
Okay.
No, this is just what works for us. So we got in a rut where it was like, well, one, because we're still at this point young and married. I'm still trying to get over that this is a good thing, that it's not bad, and it's not a performance for my husband. Like, it's like, I know, like, the statistics today show that like 1 out of 3 women now are addicted to porn or are viewing porn daily, and it started, and they will all mainly will admit it's because they're trying to see how they're supposed to perform for the guy, because he's the one that's showing interest in it. So obviously that's what he wants. So I'm going to go check it out, especially girls under the age of 18. And so I think, like, making sure that you communicate. I always knew that, like, I wasn't gonna. I want to say that, like, I never told him no. It wasn't like that, but. I tried very hard to say, like, if you walk away from me, it won't be because I didn't take care of you. Like, that was my link. That was kind of my motto. But there was resentment in times in that, because I kept feeling this standard of, like, I've got to perform like this. I don't know why, but that just was there, probably from too many movies, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, my point in that is so we started doing this restaurant lingo talk. So he was like, sometimes he's like, I just have a physical need. You were talking about that warehouse that goes...
For expectations, because, again, we didn't understand because no one taught us. That's why we called it sex and sexuality. Nobody taught us about sexuality.
Yeah.
I was wondering why in the world wasn't she
and I'm like, my
wanting
goodness gracious,
intimacy as much as me.
I'm not a piece of machine work. Yes.
But we didn't understand sexuality.
Yeah,
we were
didn't.
ignorant of that, and as a result of that ignorance, it caused problems in our marriage. Go on with the restaurant lingo.
Yeah, so we started doing, like, okay, I'm like, look, I don't mind, like, helping you out, and, like, I don't mean, it sounds bad, but, like, we can get it. I'm just talking, and I'm like, it's just not going to be for me tonight. Like, but I'm all for you. It's just not. So we would like fast food. Like, we'd be like, all right, tonight, Sonic night.
McDonald's,
and then it would be like, okay. He'd be like, I've been feeding him fast food a little too long. I really need to up it. Like, warehouse is my favorite or whatever. Like, I think about different things. I'm like, I'm gonna treat you good tonight, baby. So good night. We would say, like, that's how we talked. I'm gonna treat you to a good, nice steak dinner. You've been eating too much fast food, and nobody knows. That was just.
So you got
lingo.
McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, and warehouse. You scared me. I'm gonna get us on track.
And one time you were like, that was like not even Waffle House, and I was like, wow, thanks.
You don't mind McDonald's every once in a while, but sometimes you got a Chick-fil-A, it's kind of in between. Sometimes you won't need a warehouse,
right?
But it helped with the expectation.
It did, because then I was like...
You choose your own restaurants, right?
It's communication is the point. The point is communication. But for us...
You might like Burger King.
No, anyway.
Or Slim Chickens or Zaxby's.
Like, I would be like, I did not want him to be disappointed. And I'm like, or he would be like, and I was, anyway, it just wasn't working. And that has really worked for us.
It has helped.
It works for us anyway. So.
Thank me later, guys.
I don't know what that went with, what point.
Let me see what point that was.
You had it on our notes.
I don't even know if we were on point, but it's a good point.
No, you have it right here on my notes.
Moving along. It's safe because of the commitment and covenant between the man and the woman. There is security in covenant.
Oh, the point is that if not, you're talking about saying like I get it at times when somebody, it could be the man or woman, I'm not saying that, or they're tired, they're exhausted, they're whatever, but then after a while, if you're not careful, it's just like anything else. If you don't make it a priority, it won't happen.
Exactly.
And so then you put yourself or your husband or your wife or whatever, they're just walking around in a danger zone, because at
Yep.
any moment, that's when Satan can come in.
Yep.
And so that's where we were like, all right, we're going to try to nip that in the bud. So let's
Now,
talk.
every man has to exercise self-control, because that is a fruit of the Spirit, whether your wife is taking care of you or not, right? But ladies, look at yourself as this. You can help guard your husband from the devil. And I'll say it about my wife. Thank God. I mean, I viewed pornography when I was my son's age. I can't fathom my son looking at pornography. And I haven't viewed it, looked at it, not addicted to it. And it's a miracle of God. And I credit, obviously, all of it to the Lord, but also to her, because she does take care of me. That door it's not even there. That's not even, now, if she didn't, I'm not dumb enough to think it wouldn't be. I'm a man with flesh, and I thank God that, hey, you're helping. Now, I got to answer for my own actions. I can't blame that, but you are literally shutting the door in the devil's face by taking care of your man, and look at it like that. I'm not going to let the devil use a secretary or a whoever to come step in and take away my man. By God, I'm going to take care of him. And vice versa, men.
Yeah, and the men with the women as well.
There's security and covenant, guidelines and boundaries. Men, women need to know you're not going anywhere. And women, your men need to know you will help protect them. Satan takes what God created, which is sex and sexuality, and said it's good, and strives what Satan does, and strives to corrupt, confuse, and conjure up a counterfeit in place of it. And that is exactly what we're seeing taking place in the world today. Listen, sex and sexuality must be talked about and communicated properly. Number one, in your house.
The communication part is really, really important.
Absolutely.
I mean, when we first started trying to communicate about this, I mean, like, you could just as deeply as you communicate about finances or whatever, you should be able to talk to each other about other temptations, like, that you can help protect each other from. And Beck tried to share that, like, one temptation, and I was ready to go do some karate chopping, and I wasn't happy with. It was very immature, and I did not handle it very well.
You can take the girl out of the country, but you can't take the country
I just
out of
was
the girl.
immature, and I was like, what? Like, and he was like, I was trying to talk to you, and I'm trying to show you so that if we can communicate about this, then you help me, I help, and I'm like, it took us a while to get there. We're there now, and we can get there. But communication is so big, because I remember you shut down after that, because I wigged out. And it was like, you can't
Right.
do that. So if you're just now starting on some of these communication things, give it some time. But if not, then I don't know.
Absolutely. But sex and sexuality is something that it has to be talked about in an appropriate way. Obviously, when I said we talk to our children about it, it's age appropriate, right? But it must be talked about. There are a lot of Christians home that the word sex or sexuality is never mentioned. And they find out about it in the locker room.
Well, our kids find out about it at home because we taught them when they were little, when mom and daddy's doors shut.
Hey, she's scaring me, JP. At any moment, you may have to
You
wait.
okay? All of this.
Okay. No,
Do you not want me to share
no,
that?
go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't know where you were going.
Baby, it's right here in our notes.
Hey, if it's in the notes, fire away.
Am I missing? Do we not have
No,
the same
you're
notes?
good. You're good. You're good. Share. We got 15 minutes. Share.
Okay. Well, unless I missed something, but anyway, so our kids, we taught them when they were little that when the door is shut, mom and daddy were having time. Now, obviously, when they were little, like he's talking about age appropriate, they didn't have to know all the details, but mom and daddy we were loving each other, like that, whatever. And as they got older, they know what the door shut, they know what that means. And whether your arm's falling off or the house is burning down, you better not come knocking, and you definitely better not come in. Well, one of our children forgot about that, and that this particular room did not have a lock on the door. And so
There's no kid disciplined or trained that good where you don't need a lock. We got
true.
too haughty on that.
Anyway, long story short, I ended up with a split lip and had to get stitches because I
He walked
wigged
in,
out.
she got scared, fell off the bed, and busted her lip. That's all we'll say
I
about that.
totally wigged out. Anyway, and so, but my point is, to this day, our
And
kids...
he got disciplined for that. We'll
and
talk
he
about
was
that in a
really
second.
sorry. But what I'm saying is we didn't have to try to come up with some story of what...
No,
I mean,
no.
obviously, but I'm just saying, even Addie...
Oh, I had a talk. Boy, you messed up my night. Son... He was disciplined in the name of the Lord that night. You talk about kill the
I
mood.
didn't know about that. Yeah, the mood was killed. But I will say...
McDonald's wasn't even on the radar that night.
No, the Affinity After Hours Clinic was. But anyway...
$300-$400 ticket. It was a disaster.
And then the nurse going, what happened? I guess she's thinking of making sure I wasn't being domestically. I'm like, it's just
I'm
a
out in
really
the truck.
long
I'm not going
story.
in, you know.
Anyway, but I find this funny because tonight, Addie, like
I called my pastor for support that night.
She knew we were talking what the topic was tonight, and she automatically goes, Mom, are you going to tell them that story about Hudson walking in on y'all? And I was like, and I laughed, but I thought, no, it's normal. Like for her, like she knows that's like we're married. This is what we do. This is what you do in a healthy marriage.
Right.
And
Accidents happen.
It really made my heart happy when she said that. I was like, I think we are, but she's like, that's so funny. Like just the way she said it, and I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. So we're trying to make it as normal as we can, but still.
But we
were blessed.
God for awesome friends
Are they
because
here?
Sean and Chris Brazil bought us a door lock.
The Brazils.
Thank you.
They did. Give them a hand clap, y'all.
That's what brothers and sisters in Christ do.
World.
That's
Yes.
what we do. We take care of each other. Thank y'all. We
Yes.
installed that. Now we lock the door. So.
Yep.
Moving along, Solomon chapter 4, and I highly encourage everybody to read the Song of Solomon. Listen to what it says. Behold, you are beautiful, my love. Behold, you are beautiful. Your eyes are doves behind your veil. It's not like a poem I wrote to you. Inspired by the Holy Ghost.
Pastor said that I had seasoned, I forgot what you said, but I'm going to say that that's where I'm going to be quiet right now.
All right. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing, all of which bear twins, and not one among them has lost its young. Depends on where you live, really. Your lips are like a scarlet thread, and your mouth is lovely. That's bad. Lord, forgive me. Lord, forgive me. That's a Message Bible I just read out.
JP, do you have access to his too? Okay, all right.
Your cheeks are like halves of pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built in rows of stone. On it hang 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your two breasts are like two fawns.
Are you going to read all of this and all of the woman's what she thinks about her man?
I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
They're twins of a gazelle that graze among the lilies. Until the day breeze and the shadows flee, I will go away to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Depart from the peak of Amana, from the peak of Sinir and Hermon, from the dens of lions, from the mountains of leopards. You have captivated my heart, my sister, my bride. You have captivated my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How beautiful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips drip nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. A garden locked is my sister, my bride. A spring locked, a fountain sealed.
Mine says treasure, my bride, not
You're reading
sister,
a different
my
version
bride.
than me, though. What version is that?
I don't know, but it just says treasure.
Your shoots are an orchard of pomegranates with all choicest fruits, henna with nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon with all trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloes with all choice spices, a garden fountain, a well of living water and flowing streams of Lebanon. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind, blow upon my garden, let its spices flow. Now, this, again, it's inspired by the Holy Spirit. Song of Solomon chapter 5 verse 8 says, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, that you tell him, I am sick with love. Is that the part you're talking about?
Well, no, I just...
Hang on. No, go ahead.
No, buddy, you've got it.
Okay. I'm trying to make sure we land the plane. What is your...
I think what I was saying is most of the time, I've heard a lot of people talk about how you just named off all the things that a man sees, right, and then they talk about the women we hear, what he says, and that's in there too. But she's noticing his head of wavy hair and his eyes that's sparkling and his cheeks and his lips and his arms that are rounded bars of gold and his body that's like a bright ivory glowing with something and his legs are like marble pillars and she's noticing, she's looking too.
I'm gonna get there.
Because you used to say, I'm just saying, you used to be like, well, it's women. They're not as much worried about what the man looks like. It's all about what they say.
That's when I was eating Bluebell and I was trying to twist scripture to justify my action.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. I just wanted him to admit that. Thank you.
But she reads her Bible and she caught me. What is your beloved more than another beloved, O most beautiful among women? What is your beloved more than another beloved? That you thus adjure us. The bride praises her beloved. Verse 10, my beloved is radiant and ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. His head is the finest gold. His locks are wavy, black as a raven. His eyes are like doves, beside streams of water, bathed in milk, sitting beside a full pool. His cheeks are like beads of spices, mounds of sweet-smelling herbs. His lips are lilies, dripping liquid myrrh. His arms are rods of gold, set with jewels. His body is polished ivory, bedecked with sapphires. His legs are alabaster columns set on bases of gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as the cedars. His mouth is most sweet, and he is altogether desirable. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. And again, I highly encourage you to read the book of Proverbs as well. So we talked about it at church. We talked about it at home.
Proverbs or Songs?
Read the book of Song of Solomon, or the Song of Solomon, but also the book of Proverbs. Okay. Chapter 6 and 7 specifically. So, as we're coming to a conclusion here, talk about it at home. Listen, explore and experience each other. Why did we read all that? Because that's exactly what they were doing. They got extremely detailed. They were exploring and they were experiencing one another. You don't have to bring in some pornography or some filth to spice up your marriage.
Yeah, you never want to, you should never have to bring in anything that would replace. I think I learned that from something that we shared with them, and I thought it was really, really good. Like, to make them make your spouse not feel good enough. Like,
yeah,
so I need
your
to
spouse
bring
is
in,
enough.
You can spice that. They were under apple orchards and fountains and Lebanon trees and leopards and lions' dens and all that. They were getting adventuresome, all in nature, but they weren't. There was no competition of like something to make the other one feel like they weren't enough. They were adventuring and seeking together.
Absolutely.
Which is very important.
Wonderful point. So explore and experience each other. Learn and long for each other. Learn what each spouse likes and learn what each spouse dislikes. That can only come by communicating. True. By talking. Because again, when you bring baggage in your marriage or your spouse has experienced trauma, there's a reason why they may dislike certain things, places, or whatever, and that has to be talked about, and sometimes it has to be counseled through. But the only way to learn about each other is to ask questions and communicate. And again, I'm so happy Pastor Brad and Ms. Shannon are going to be talking about communication. Understand each other. Again, the whole sexuality pot. Women are like crock pots. You've heard us say this a lot. And men are like microwaves.
I think we've updated to Instant.
Where we updated it? What do we like? What's the latest thing?
I guess you have the slow cooker on the Instapot. Crock pot
Either
just
way,
makes it sound so dated.
You can look at them. Your spouse can walk you through the door, and it's like something, just like that, right, men? But a woman is like a crock pot.
It just starts outside the kitchen, and we also, or starts in the kitchen or whatever, but starts outside the bedroom. And like for us, I know for a while, like I would know, oh, okay, here he goes. Beck's gonna take me on a date. I know what this means. He's starting it in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like it was like, and I appreciated that. And through maturity, I would say if your spouse is trying and that's his way of trying, then respect that, go with them, and then eventually when you get to another communication thing, go, you know, I don't, it's not that I don't want to, but I don't want it to be every time that you take me on a date that's what I know, like that's the payoff. Like that's like, it just
sounds like a win-win to me.
I'm not saying that you can't, and they're not saying that you don't. You'd be like, why wouldn't you? And I'm like, it's not. It's the point that I'm like, you're still like, or you're not doing it still. Like you weren't learning me to know that I was wanting you to do it to bless me, not so that in the end you're still.
I just felt used, like you were using me for my money. Just saying.
We're gonna really need the front row next week. Keep on going.
No, that's a great point.
It is.
Listen, understand each other. Women need affection, connection, and commitment. Right? Because sex is not just a one-time event. It starts in the kitchen. Right?
Sure.
Or wherever. Right?
You have your own
Men
notes.
need to be wanted, needed, and
No,
respected.
that is
Sometimes they don't want to be intimate with us because we've not been affectionate with them.
Yes.
We've not connected with them. I mean, one time she told me it really turns me on when you take care of the kids. I'm like, look,
Can I
I'll
get an
babysit them
amen?
every night of the week if you
Women,
need me to.
Amen. When he was loading that dishwasher, putting those kids to bed,
Like I'm going to Lowe's and Home Depot buying
look
appliances.
out, here I come. Like, and he was like, and I'm like, I don't need, you have to learn what TikToks for the other one. But like when you're sitting on the couch doing this right here and I'm running around trying to get all the kids in bed and I'm trying to wash dishes and do homework and all that, and then you're like, hey, got any extra time a little bit later on? I'm like, I think there's a leftover knife out of the dishwasher that I forgot to put in there. No, speaking of it, I'm not
So
crazy.
men, learn how to wash dishes, vacuum, babysit, pays dividends. Men need to be
just
wanted,
learn to-
needed, and
that
respected.
is true. That is true.
Right? That's
So
a
you
huge
tell
part
me.
of. What's that?
So you tell me that you want to be longed for. That's
Absolutely.
a big thing for a man.
I mean, when you're 20, not so much, right? There's so much physical diet. But 43 is like, okay, I kind of like want to be wanted. You know what I mean? I know. No, that's what I'm
You
saying.
look
Like
scared of me.
at 20
Like
years old, you're like, who cares? You know, I mean, you're raging hormone or whatever. But 43, you're like, okay, I would at least like to be wanted. You know what I mean? And you do a great job at that.
Thank
All
you.
right. Appreciate each other. Look, learn to appreciate differences and how God made a man and a woman and how God made each other, right? Listen, we got to talk about it, and we're about to close, between parents and children. Again, if we don't talk about sex matters with our children, they'll learn it from porn, perverts, Playboy, Penthouse, or other people.
Because so much of it's just curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's truly curiosity of what it is. And so you're not talking to them. And I have one that it doesn't matter how many times I bring it up. I was, oh, mama, oh my goodness, here we go again. And I'm like, you're just going to get used to it because I'm going to keep on talking about it. Because you can play that all you want to, but I know that you would be abnormal if you weren't curious.
Yeah.
So I know you are, and I know it's weird, and I'll try not to make it weird. It's like, you're a weird mom. I'm like, well, weird moms make great character. But anyway, just you keep on going with that, I would encourage. 'Cause
In an
if not-
appropriate way. Don't
Yes,
be crude or,
I mean,
you
not,
know.
no, I'm not. I'm just saying it could be literally, like I could say something about like, your daddy was so sweet last night, and she'll be like, that's it, I don't hear anything else. And I'm like, I was just
Y'all
saying.
can probably guess what child that is and which one asked the question. Are you
We
gonna?
don't have to do that.
I didn't mention any names. I'm just saying they could probably figure it out. Number 2, we have to talk about it in God's house. If God's word says it, we need to learn about it. We need to talk about it. Listen, because it's been kept out of pulpits, the church and families have suffered immensely. And I'm thankful when we decided to do this series that we have a pastor, and we shared with him the topics we were going to hit on. He blessed it.
Yes, and
Be thankful to be a part of a church that not only allows it, but encourages it and blesses it.
well, and I know like right now, especially, it just seems like we're being bombarded with church leaders that are it's coming out with sexual immorality left and right. And I do believe that my heart breaks for some that I believe had all the greatest intentions in the world and allowed themselves to get run down, or maybe their marriage needed some help, like counseling, and they didn't make the time or the priority, or make these kinds of things priorities, because I don't believe it just happens for some. Now some are just nasty perverts, and they should have never been in the pulpit, and God removed them. So that I don't feel as much sympathy on for that, but I'm just saying I think it's got everybody's attention on this topic, and so it's like, okay, so the church is talking about sex, and it's like, but the world's talking about what the church is doing sex-wise, and it's still not good. So we've got to make it a good example of when the church and the word sex get paired together, that it's not always taboo and bad.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Listen, God wants His people to understand that sex matters. If it didn't, He would not have inspired an entire book about those topics. I believe that Christians should be the most secure people in the world in their sexuality, and also believe that believers should have the best sex lives in the world. And why shouldn't we? Because our God is the one that created sex and sexuality.
And here's a little tip. This is just a little thing for my women friends. Some of now y'all may not have insecurity issues. I've come a long way I will say with the help from my man. But if I gained 5 or 10 pounds or 50 or whatever, I would be insecure and whatever. And I promise you, he continued to tell me, yeah, does he like certain things? Yes, that's not, obviously staying in shape, taking care of yourself. But he would always say, I'm telling you, when you come in with confidence that you're mine and I'm yours and this is about us, a couple extra pounds hanging off the side is not going to bother me. I can promise you that. I'd much rather that than you coming in all like, I'm so sorry. And so I just want to when you're talking about being confident, it's just like being confident that you are your spouse, like y'all have each other.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. That was something you helped me with. I was trying to give you credit.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little junk in the trunk. I didn't say yours. Give me a fist bump.
I'm gonna fist you, all right? I'm like,
come on, let's
wow.
I was.
Yeah. All right, gotcha. I had some things, but I think we went over.
We're good.
But real fast, let me just say this. I know that sometimes it's hard to come up with, where do you even start? We've laughed and we've joked and we've come a long way, and this has been 20 years into it. You may be 3 years into it or a year into it, but there's just communication questions where do you even start? Here's just 3 questions that I know that we've asked each other that have helped. And make sure you have this conversation outside of the bedroom, not go somewhere else besides the bedroom to have this conversation.
You don't have it when you're mad either.
Well, that's in their timing and tone. Sister Burke said that too. I was like, yep, that's so important. But what do you like most about our sex life? And keep the sarcasm. Don't do the sarcasm thing. But truly, think about it. What do you like? I remember one comment when I was like, what do you wish was different in our sex life? And you were like, I wish it was existent. And I was like, yeah, that was a smart aleck thing. That was that phase, yeah. But not if we didn't do things like that, just to truly say, okay, another question, do I make you feel special outside of the bedroom so that you know that what you're doing? Those are just simple questions that can get things started. And again, making sure with wisdom of timing and tone, but can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
Where you get started.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I know we joke a lot and we cut up. We understand this is a very, very serious topic, and we know there's probably a lot of people that are single and married that are hurting in here tonight because of your past experience. Again, this word stung. These words, sexuality stung when you heard it. I commend you for even showing up tonight. And again, I believe no matter what's happened to you, whether your experience was bad or trauma or abuse, that there is healing. There is healing and there is hope in Jesus Christ. And don't give up.
I will say I am a product of trauma and PTSD from different things. So I will say I am a testimony of that it can be done and done right with God's.
Absolutely. There is hope in Jesus' name. Again, if you're married, you're struggling, your sex life, the understanding of sexuality may be at the bottom of the barrel again. I encourage you, there's so much hope. Man, talk with your spouse, talk to a counselor, reach out to one of the staff, and again, we'd be glad to be able to help you. We're not professional counselors, but help kind of get you out of the hole and encourage you. If God can bring us through things He brought us through prior to Christ and even after Christ in our marriage, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're going through tonight, He can bring you through as well. Amen.